Yeah. Sometimes it goes. Can you hear me now? Sometimes it defaults. I don't know why it does that. It defaults and it doesn't go to, there we go. Okay, good. Okay, let's start over. Anyway, so today is 1482, and that's the count of the premeditated murder of our son, right? Of our hero, Richard Halliday, on Fort Bliss. And on April 24th, 2024, that was confirmed. And now, I've been talking for a little bit, but I wanted to talk about Ernest Christopher Grant and Bill Hicks and Jules Tuganon Chan and Bob Moore and the Hart family and their conflicts of interest. Because there's so much going on right now. We're getting some attention with this Fit Fam El Paso. But let's not lose sight. The whole point of what we're doing here is to get Richard's remains, because they absolutely have Richard's remains. We don't think they have his total remains because he was brutally murdered, he was dismembered. We absolutely have information that they did the DNA and that they confirmed that they have Richard's remains. Um, I don't think they have his total remains. And when I had that encounter with my father 2 days ago, um, this amazing feeling of his presence, um, it, the message I got is that there's still parts of Richard in the desert. And, that really bothered me. Um, that really bothered me. So, anyway, our aim is to expose this, to get as much of Richard back as we possibly can, to honor him. Um, Sorry, it's just, they are the most evil people to put us through this. They are just so evil. And these conflicts of interest that intersect, they intersect. Ernest Christopher Grant with Bill Hicks, with Jules Tuganon Chan, the Hart family, the Candeleras, absolutely the Candeleras of KTSM. That would be, and let's put some adjectives or some descriptions before them, right? So you have the usurper Bill Hicks, right? You have the criminal Ernest Christopher Grant. He's a criminal, and the media uses him even today as a reliable source, and he is not a reliable source. And the reason why they are using him, and his whole purpose in the Walmart case was, I think, election tampering. Okay. And I'm not saying that the deaths at the mass shooting was election tampering. I'm saying that the narrative that he was spewing from his criminal mouth, because he is a total criminal, he had warrants out. He had a warrant out for his arrest. The Secret Service arrested him, and they did not even extradite him. The entity that they won't reveal to us that issued a warrant out for him did not even extradite him for his arrest. Okay? Why? He is a total criminal, and they are using him as for politics. Absolutely for politics. And so, the good news about that is that absolutely the narrative is false. We know the narrative is false. What was the narrative? That Walmart mass shooting was a lone shooter that was a white supremacist, right? With a manifesto, a act of hate, not an act of a financial dispute, right? Of maybe a power dispute, uh, maybe a maneuver to uh, get some political gain, to create some bonds, right? To create a bond to get rich. No, it couldn't be that. It couldn't be that. It had to be, the false narrative of a white supremacist, right? Yeah, okay. If you're going to level that kind of accusation, you better have some proof. And then they go, oh, yeah, okay, so we'll put this manifesto, right? We'll put this manifesto. And then we'll put Patrick Crucius with the severe mental health condition as the author of this manifesto. And we'll call him the white supremacist, right? And then he gets there, and you can absolutely tell that he has a severe quote. This is not me. This is the federal judge, right? The severe mental health condition. You can tell. And there's no shells in the back of him in this picture, right? Right? And what Ernest Christopher Grant testified to was so horrendous that as Patrick Crucius would be leaving, if this criminal, absolutely criminal demon mouth, Ernest Christopher Grant, was right in what he said, Patrick Crucius would have been covered in blood. He would have been covered in blood and soda. But he wasn't. He was clean. He wasn't even sweaty. Right? He wasn't sweaty. You're talking about August in El Paso. And, he's as calm and like not even understanding what's going on. And he has clean shoes on, and his pants are clean, and his shirt is clean, and he drives just minutes, what I think it was, 13, 17 minutes or whatever, goes to a Hispanic law enforcement officer and treats him with total respect, raises his hand up, tells him what he wants to do, totally respectfully does that right after he did what Christopher Grant testified to, which I can't repeat on here because it's so terrible. And then the media runs with it. The media runs with even lately in just a recent terrible, I didn't even put it up, a terrible story. And the author, the journalist, is someone, that has been somewhat respectable and ethical, and comes out with a total unethical, when I read it, I just thought, oh wow, now he's gonna have to do something great to regain his reputation, because this article just is the pits, the dark pits. And he used Ernest Christopher Grant as a reliable source and spewed the false narrative that is so easily proven as a false narrative. And even if you don't totally believe it's a false narrative, maybe like there's a little doubt in your mind, but you can at least say, hey, I just want to let you know there's some real questions about this. And this is a very serious charge. White supremacy is a very serious charge. It is such a hate crime that you better have your ducks in a row. You better have your proof. You better do a handwriting analysis. You better do a mental health evaluation. And they still haven't done a mental health evaluation. They haven't even done a handwriting analysis on the we're 5 years, over 5 years, we don't have a trial. And they levied a political attack as the narrative. And they used a criminal that is Ernest Christopher Grant connected to Richard's case? Is Ernest Christopher Grant connected to Bill Hicks, Bill D. Hicks, the office, the law office of Bill D. Hicks? Is Ernest Christopher Grant connected and tied to, Jules Tuganon Chan of Fit Fam El Paso? And I should back up and say, is criminal Ernest Christopher Grant tied to or connected to the usurper Bill D. Hicks? Because he's a usurper, which is a total crime. Criminal and criminal. And then you have another criminal, Jules Tuganon Chan. He's another criminal. Because he was in charge. He had a leadership position over the emergency intake center. And we have it from the director of emergency services that terrible things were happening in that center, in that emergency intake center, to migrants coming over. And these were unaccompanied minors. Unaccompanied minor, and we still have like 70 a day coming over, 500 a week that are unaccompanied minors. Where are they going? And think there was so many going into that intake center that they had a real problem with childcare in El Paso, because they were taking the childcare workers and giving them jobs in the emergency intake center. And then so they had to do some provisions that people could be, childcare providers in their home. And so the Hart family decided, okay, we'll take advantage of that one and we'll do the Hart daycare. Childcare, Hart Childcare, LLC. That's James Hart. Now, James Hart is in the VA on Fort Bliss. He is, this is a cushy job. And, I guess he cares about children so much, he has to do Hart Childcare. And here we have Leilani Hart's confession that's notarized, that's accepted by the CID, that's referred to the FBI and accepted by the FBI. We have James Hart confirming that he was under investigation. And what was in that confession, crimes against children. And yet, who is vetting? Who is vetting and who has to take care of children's health and welfare on Fort Bliss and Ogle of Park University? You see, it's all kind of connecting together. I shouldn't even say kinda. It is connecting together because we have more and more witnesses stepping forward lately in regards to Jules Tuganon Chan of that when he published false and misleading stories like what Bob Moore did in our son's declaration of death story. That was absolutely a terrible story, a false story. And we had reached out to Bob Moore no less than 15 times and giving him information because we had provided the evidence to the Board of Inquiry. And of course, they have their own evidence too, but we made sure we did our part. And we know from the evidence that we gave them that there was no other option but to declare Richard deceased, killed on Fort Bliss, murdered on Fort Bliss, premeditatedly murdered, code red. Did they have an op ord? Because we know that he was retaliated against by none other than Major General Clem Coward. That he was retaliated against by none other than Lieutenant Colonel Michael Roddick. We know by the irregularities and by the fake task force find Richard Halliday that Richard was targeted by now Lieutenant General Donna Martin and Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe and General, 4-star General James McConville, and that means Mealy. So what Richard was reporting was really bad, and it pulled on even a much worse and longer string. And it connected Richard's case to a criminal network that, call it abuse of power. This aiding, abetting, this Jules Tuganon Chan absolutely being connected with the Hart family, absolutely connected to Dallas Hart, absolutely connected to James Hart and Leilani Hart. He was over there in that rogue criminal group from the original response team early on, as early, we have it on record, beginning of 2022. 2022, before we even knew who he was, before we even knew FitFam, before we even knew that he was Mr. X with his brother running FitFam El Paso, before we even knew any of that, he was already with the Hart family. He was already part of the intimidators, part of the asymmetric warfare retaliatory team, rogue team. He was part of them, threatening us, feeding us misinformation, feeding the public misinformation. And then he's running the film. We didn't even know that. We didn't even know who he was. And now we're getting more and more witnesses saying that he puts up false stories on FitFam El Paso. And if you want it taken down because you're saying, no, that's a false story, that's a lie about me, that he's like, hey, fork up the cash. And it has to be like, cash? Use one of those cash apps. Use one of the cash apps, right? But he's in trouble right now because we have it confirmed that he is uh, under review from tax authorities. And absolutely he committed fraud, that he has ongoing and active investigations looking into him because of his security breach. I mean, my goodness gracious, he was in charge of the, well, I shouldn't say in charge, but he had authority. He was given a leadership position and those are his words. He was saying he, had firsthand involvement with the Walmart mass shooting. And then, of course, he had security leadership position when it comes to the emergency intake center. I didn't say that. He said that. He's the one that claimed that. And when I was reading it, I was like, I would not even have that on my CV. I would not even have that on my LinkedIn. I wouldn't. Because both of those declare security breach. And if you are supposed to be in charge of security and you have major security breaches like that, 85,000 missing children, you have hundreds of thousands of dollars given to Cielo Vista Walmart for security and not a penny was spent on it. There was not one guard there that day. And you're talking about a business that sells weapons and ammunition. On a busy day. So, is there a connection between the Hart family and Jules Tuganon Chan? Yes. That is confirmed. That is confirmed. So, is he aiding, abetting? I mean, think about the criminal legal ramifications of what he's doing. Aiding and abetting the prime suspects in the capital murder case of a soldier, a whistleblower soldier, brutally murdered. Yeah. I mean, I'd rather be guilty of the tax fraud, right? The tax evasion. I'd rather be guilty of tax evasion than to put myself in the middle of aiding and abetting prime suspects in the brutal, premeditated murder, capital murder of a soldier on Fort Bliss, and he's a whistleblower. That's what Jules Chuganon Chan has done. He's in the middle of it. And he's been there for a while. Years, years before we even knew who he was. When he was Mr. X to everybody. And is he connected to Ernest Christopher Grant? Is he connected to Bill Hicks? Is FitFam El Paso? This is what is so important. Is FitFam El Paso? If Jules Tuganon Chan is FitFam El Paso and has that position of FitFam El Paso, and he has a deal going on with Bob Moore of El Paso Matters, and he has a deal going on with the Candelera family of KTSM. And he is connected, confirmed connected to the Hart family. Is he connected to Ernest Christopher Grant? Is Bill Hicks connected to Ernest Christopher Grant? Are the Harts, the Hart family, connected to Ernest Christopher Grant? Are the Candeleras of KTSM connected to Ernest Christopher Grant? And I need to add in this mix Jonathan Ambrose, Jonathan Caleb Ambrose with Danae Katzen. You know, I could keep adding a few more people. But as time goes on, and we know that Ernest Christopher Grant is a criminal, and that we know Bill Hicks is a usurper criminal, and you have Jules Tuganon Chan as a criminal fraud in more ways than one. And you have the Harts as criminals, crimes against children. And that encompasses KTSM, El Paso Matters, El Paso Community Foundation, the DA's office, the law firm of Bill D. Hicks, FitFam El Paso, and the Walmart case. Now, and I think I'm just getting started in explaining it. Because there's so many other aspects to this. I mean, I haven't even talked about the adult entertainment, right, aspect of this. And but we know it's absolutely politically motivated, and we, through our open records, just received confirmation, and it was showed in the article too, that we just posted, that Bill Hicks, these whispers, what's the name of that? The Whispers. Anyway, that Bill Hicks is, in collusion with Veronica Escobar. He's a rhino. Because he absolutely is like very in sync with Veronica Escobar. He's working with Veronica Escobar. And you can say, oh, well, that's bipartisanship. Okay, yeah, all right. But something is very stinky. Because she's a criminal, he's a criminal, She's putting in an illegal, she put in an illegal, she allowed it to happen with Barnall, right? With Barnell, um, for this uh, medical examiner, Mario Raskin Ortiz. And it's so important. I have to say, I have to be on here saying it all the time, to put all these pieces together and to memorize it, to put it to memory. And why are they, and that's really, if you are the one that decides on the cause and manner of death, you have a lot of power. And that's why they, whoever holds that position has to be an American citizen, has to have loyalty to the law of this land, total loyalty to the law of this land. And because it's so ripe for corruption. The medical examiner is so ripe for corruption because, if you want to murder someone, if you want to murder a lot of people, and you have the medical examiner in your pocket, and he's illegal, and we have confirmation, or I should say, we have information that what happened with the victims of the Walmart mass shooting was not okay as far as cause and manner of death go. As far as that report goes, that all has to be scrutinized. And how can it be scrutinized? How can It's called a trial. And why did Bill Hicks want to be a DA so bad that he would commit crimes? Because he absolutely committed crimes with Bill Hicks to get this narrative out, this false narrative out, to hypnotize the public against Yvonne Rosales. Whether you like Yvonne Rosales or not, they absolutely worked against her to coerce her um, in duress to sign a resignation. And then he gets in there and he has so many conflicts of interest because he absolutely is in connection with Ernest Christopher Grant, Jules Tuganon Chan, the Hart family, and Bob Moore and more. And he has conflicts of interest, and so he couldn't even install properly as the district attorney for the 34th Judicial District. He could not install properly. He could not sign the anti-bribery statement properly. And so, when you understand all of that, the hesitation of that, he just couldn't do it until it was forced. And then it was too late, and then they had to scheme to tamper with the timestamp. And so, are you saying that, am I saying that the Secretary of State is scheming? If it looks like a duck and walks like a duck and sounds like a duck, then it must be a duck. And are they going to scheme more to protect, Fifth Fam? Well, we'll see. We'll see. Because Fifth Fam is in a mess. It is in chaos. And I think there's been some crisis calls to the Secretary of State, just like our recording from Bill Hicks. I call it the crisis call to the Secretary of State of Texas, um, wanting to scheme to restrict access to open records because some guy in Austin got the ear of some journalist and some attorneys. So about what? About about Bill Hicks's usurpation. And that, it's hard to wrap your mind around that, but if we have people just usurping a position and then abusing a position, and then the criminal, and just like a judgment came out, I think the article was today, um, of of a family, a sister that is just like, I've just been slapped in the face by the criminal judicial system here in El Paso. And I'm like wanting to reach out to her and say, yeah, because Bill Hicks is an illegitimate district attorney. He's an illegitimate prosecutor. He, and this is the problem. This is what's making people suffer. This poor family is suffering because they're not getting justice for, a manslaughter case, and that took away their loved one needlessly. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask, because I know that this gets confusing, and thank you so much for coming on, Anicia. Thank you so much, Danielle. Thank you so much, um, Francis Valencia. Thank you so much. And I know it gets confusing, but the point is, Richard, this is the timeline. Richard got there. He saw something. He said something. I know that during the deployment to Qatar, he saw things. I know that for sure because he told me. He said it was very bad, and his distinguished honor graduate in basic training, hard work, his distinguished honor graduate, hard work in advanced individual training, his his amazing physical fitness. He was the fastest runner in his unit. His, doing the combat lifesaver, all being the guidon bearer, all of that. He said, no more. I don't want any part of it. It's so bad. I've got to get out. And then he put in requests to leave that unit. He put in requests, multiple requests to leave that unit. He became a whistleblower. He was putting in requests to leave that unit because why? He saw it coming. They absolutely were going to, I wanted to say burn him, but I don't want to say burn him because I know that they did things to him that was so terrible. Actually. But they started retaliating against him. And then it didn't work. It did not work. He has a totally, they could not discredit him. Bob Moore is discredited. I don't know, 1,000 times he's discredited, and that's not even enough. What does God say? A day is like 1,000 and 1,000 is like a day. But I'm telling you, 1,000 is not even enough for Bob Moore's discrediting actions. But Richard, not a one. He's clean. Totally. Totally a reliable source. A reliable witness. A reliable whistleblower. And they went after him. They're a reliable whistleblower with a clean record is their worst nightmare because they're so criminal. What were they doing? And were they in connection with the man at the VA or the brains behind all of this, the big fish, the maker and breaker of soldiers? Were they in line with these, the media, the unethical media in this case, and social media that's, so important in today's world? And we have absolutely connected them together. Well, we haven't connected them together. They've connected themselves together. They have the financial and legal uh, intersections, crossovers, whatever you want to call them, conflicts of interest. They have them. They're there. So they absolutely are connected. And they're connected to Richard's case. And that means that they are absolutely fighting for their lives because they are connected to a capital murder case of a whistleblower soldier that was brutally murdered on a military installation. And that's why you see all the irregularities. And that's why you see all the hard evidence of the tampering, the tampering of witnesses, the retaliation against witnesses, the harassment, whatever. If you've been with this case long enough, you've absolutely witnessed it. So, thank you so much. And we have reported, and this is something people need to know, is that Jules Tuganon Chan is under investigation. And we are working very hard behind the scenes. And, you can also ask for open records. You can also put in a request for an investigation. This is a government by the people, for the people, of the people. You have the power. You have the power to request why there was a security breach. Why? Y'all have questions. You should ask them. And, I know you have to decide because the retaliation is real. But this is our government. And they don't want you to interact with it. They want to take it from us. They want to steal our government. And they want to manipulate the law for them, for us, and not for them or whatever. Because it's so precious. That's why they want it. You don't steal trash. You steal what's precious, like gold and diamonds, and I've always called my children my treasure, right? My treasure is my children. And, you know, that's what they steal. And they want to steal your voice and your power, because this is our country is designed, our government is designed to have the Bible. And I know people don't want to hear that, but it is. It's designed to have the Holy Bible be the government for the people, by the people, of the people. And we only got part of that. They leave off the Bible part most of the time. But that's this country. And that means thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not murder. Thou shalt not bear false witness. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Honor your father and mother, that things will go well with you and you will live long on the earth. It's with a promise. Honor the Sabbath day. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Do not covet. Thou shalt not covet your brother's house and wife. And you can't just, and this is absolutely what we have told our children. You cannot just love. There's 3 words for love. Filio, which means brotherly love. Eros, which means a sexual desire love. And then you have the love of God, right? You have agape. This, you can't even describe it, because only God can have this agape love, right? And you cannot, and every time they use the word love, oh, you can love they just want to be with who they love, right? And what they're talking about is eros. And you can't just be eros with whoever you want. Not with children, not with animals, not with family members. You cannot covet your neighbor's spouse. You can't. You ruin a whole society. There are boundaries. And this is what they want to steal from us. They want to steal the boundaries. They want to steal the law. They want to steal our country. And they want to steal our power as a governing force of the people, by the people, for the people. And that's why you have to engage. And sorry. And I know that there is, hold on, get some coffee. I know it's really early in the morning. But you have to engage, even though I don't even know why we have Washington, D.C., right? I don't even know. I mean, we need to shut that whole thing down and save the money and just do things state by state, right? That's my opinion right now, because why do we even have a president? We don't even have a president right now. Who's the president? What's going on? It's just crazy. And when something like this, when you're involved in something like this, and you're supposed to be letting the Congress people know, the Senate know, and the whole chain of command all the way up to the commander in chief, and the commander in chief is who is he? Who is she? What's going on? It's not running right, because they're usurping our power. they're putting these people in that are criminals. Like they're allowing the usurpation of offices. And so that's why we need to be very, very engaged right now in our system. And, um, you just don't let someone come and steal your stuff. And that's what they're engaged in. And in our case, it's worse because they absolutely took the life of our son. You know. So thank you for coming on tonight. Please share this information. Um, we cannot have criminals that are discredited, that had warrants out, be used for a reliable source. He's not a reliable source. And especially in the case of a charge so serious with such serious ramifications, and then nothing is done 5 years, we don't have answers. That means that's an irregularity. That means they're hiding something. So, and we know what they're hiding. Partially. Partially. So thank you so much. Please share, and we will be back tomorrow, God willing.